gentlemen, if I can have your attention, since time is running awfully quickly, I would like to invite you to our next discussion. I'm amazingly honored to have with me two gentlemen that have tremendous insight and a key role in our growth potential. Please welcome Minister Al Hashem, Assistant Deputy Minister of Investment and Development from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Mr. Emmanouil Moustakas, Chairman of the IRC Ellinikon, who I think is quite happy today. So, again, since time is an issue, thank you both for being here today. I'm sure you will agree with me that what we've heard up until now, it was very interesting. Minister Al Hashem, first question for you. On a more broader scale, what is your vision with regard to the global infrastructure and real estate sector over, well, I'm not sure whether we can predict the next decade, but at least in the next following years. And what do you think that it's the importance of all these things, of all these interesting things that are happening in Saudi Arabia this period?
Well, thank you. I think we had a good chat earlier, talked about a lot of similarities, and I agreed I will call you Abu Milena now.
Okay.
Going on.
I'm honored.
And, on that typical question, now both real estate and infrastructure has taken the vision, the future for them has been sort of reshaped in the last couple of years. Key, I think, trends that is driving most of the vision for the future, of course, comes from either global challenges like climate change and net zero targets and commitments of countries and global leaders towards that. But also you have a shift in demographics and new methods of consumptions, a new younger generation looking for different types of products. And as well, maybe some elements are, I would say, reactive. If you look at, let's say, the aftermath of the pandemic and how has that sort of reshaped how we use our infrastructure, how we use and utilize our assets. If I could say, if I could summarize quickly, what are the most important aspects that would shape infrastructure and real estate, I would say the developing technologies, especially the adoption of AI and the whole phase around AI that's going out across all technological development. If you look at that factor and try to link it at what countries are doing, across the globe, everybody's looking to upgrade their infrastructure. They are looking to make it green, of course, to comply with the net zero. And that means that a lot of investments has to happen from generation, transmission, and creating these new carbon economies or green, I would say, economies to allow and incentivize the transition towards the green energy. Also, as I referenced initially, AI, the adoption of technology is quite critical. And we always, hear of the concept of smart cities, and I had this debate of my boss. He was like, we had an ICT team and they were going to him always like, smart city, smart city, smart city, smart city. And he was like, what is smart city? Tell me. I'm like, they're exaggerating. They're tech people and they want to exaggerate about smart city. But if you really drill it down, it's a different set of technologies, Smart meters allow us to consume better when it comes to electricity as well and save. Using a lot of sensors across different, on the house itself or on the city level, allows for data collection and analytics to help us improve how we are actually guiding our infrastructure for the most efficient uses. Now, of course, That helps us raise efficiency and improve the quality of life of the new generation living in these new urban congregates. But also, it comes with its own challenges, of course. As I mentioned, AI, and I mentioned the transitioning towards utilization of these sensors and these smart technologies and quantum computing, etc. It faces a challenge of how do you also secure your infrastructure, secure your grid? How do you also instill the best cybersecurity practices? Because if everything is smart and a cyber attack happens, how would that impact your critical infrastructure, such as hospitals or schools? And it's always a balance, and it's always good and critical to look at these topics and these trends with a lot of optimism as well, but a lot of caution when it comes to critical infrastructure that people rely on for their livability. Uh, of course, when I alluded towards green and the power, the energy transition, you see a lot of countries now and a lot of cities are looking to adopt a more of a circular economy. So you get a lot of recycling, reusage of wastewater into irrigation. For us in the kingdom, of course, we have of course NEOM, which is the size of Belgium. No offense to Belgium, I love Belgium, by the way. I lived there. Great chocolate. But NEOM is one project the size of a country, which is 100% will be powered by renewable energy. No emissions in the entire project. But when I'm also looking to power an entire city by renewables, I want to see how would I impact the global trade and economy. That's why we have the largest green hydrogen project in the world now also happening in Oxagon, which is part of NEOM. So when projects and countries look to adopt these technologies, it's also critical to see the interdependencies. How will I also impact the tradability of a new commodity, which is still relatively new when it comes to pricing of green hydrogen as well as blue hydrogen as well. And many others. I think we have in Al Ula and many of our cities were very cautious on and setting targets to reusing wastewater for irrigation to ensure that we combat deforestation at the same time and plant additional trees across the major cities. Now, I could probably go on, but I am worried, and I want to give a chance to my great partner in this panel to also have his say. And I think there's a lot happening, but I think across all the trends, we should be optimistic, look at technology as a key enabler, but always putting humans, putting the individual, putting the new generation first at what do they need to, of course, enjoy life, but what do they need for their safety, for their well-being and improvement of health.
Thank you so much. I will keep you, Mr. Moustakas, on the issue of new trends. Another trend that we are noticing lately is the fact that in many major investments, especially in the hospitality industry, there is a change on the traditional model where a company was investing, was developing, was operating. Now we experience a shift on this paradigm, and we see a company who develops come together with a company that operates, might come together with another company, joining forces, which, in my opinion, is what exactly you're doing with IRC in Ellinikon in Athens. So the question is whether you see those benefits and how critical do you see are these benefits from this change, and obviously, supplementing question. What is your overview and how enthusiastic you are of the amazing job that you're doing at Ellinikon?
First of all, thank you for inviting me here. I'm now representing this marvelous effort to build this amazing project. It's obviously not as big as NEOM. It's a mere 1.5 billion investment, but the location is amazing, and the project is going to be beautiful. But, as you properly said, the demand for optimizing the risks of such efforts is now even more important. And yes, we have seen in other types of infrastructure, such as energy and transportation, that the operator is entirely different from the owner, investor, developer. And this was reasonable, and we have come to accept it because of the vastly different set of risks that each party has to undertake. But in real estate infrastructure, this has not been so common. There have been cases where the owner of the asset is different than the operator, but this has been the minority. Now, in this case, and the particular example of the Athens Integrated Casino Resort, the example is that we have a significant separation. The operator is the operator, and we have an investor who is also developer. And the result is what I believe makes the project even more interesting from the following perspective. What are we doing? We are leveraging on the differentiation of the risk allocation. So practically, we allocate the risk to the party that is better suited to manage it optimally. And what do we end up with? We have an operator such as Hard Rock, which can bring vast experience from around the world in order to create this unique experience that people will have from our venue. And at the same time, we have Gekterna, who, along with Hard Rock, manages this quite tough,
You are diplomatic.
quite tough and difficult exercise of developing and financing and optimizing the returns from the investment. At the end, though, the combination produces a result that is a more robust and resilient investment, and this is a big success that we have in our hands even before we began actually to develop the project.
Mr. Hashem, can I keep you on the same question, slightly different? Do you see also that trend create a new demand for a different kind of expertise and skills from all the people that are engaged in those projects?
I will utilize your previous speech. Now, what is the issue? Technology advances. And yes, we hear about smart cities and energy resilience, and you can write a book with each of these headlines, right? Because you have Internet of Things and AI, and you have localized independent renewable power generation, which you have to store and then manage it efficiently, etc., etc. And you have millions of little machines that integrate and affect and optimize the operation of the asset. Now, what is the issue? In the cases where you have an operator who is excellent in the operation, but it's not his core business to actually know, understand, and be able to integrate optimally these advancements, what do you need? You need a developer who does. So at the end, we come to this, again, optimization. We get the best of both worlds. We need an operator that is in need of these advanced new things in technology, things in terms of energy, in terms of information management. So you need an operator that can and needs to use it, and then you need someone who is in his core business to integrate, develop, finance, and manage it. And what do you have at the end? You have an integrated result that affects optimally the operation, from waste management to people traffic management to the service that you provide and the whole experience, the whole profile of the carbon footage. Everything can be, the result is better when people are specialized in what they do. So this is an additional benefit of what we are implementing, and I think it's going to be mostly the trend. The more these infrastructure, real estate assets get bigger and bigger, they are, I expect that they will be more demanding in terms of the technology that's going to be integrated, and therefore such solutions are going to be a necessity.
Well,
Percent.
I'm seriously tempted to ask you the $1 million question whether we have these people in Greece, but you will be saved by the fact that I have to ask now Mr. Hashem on slightly similar topic. Given all these amazing changes and opportunities that abound in Greece over the last years, how do you think Greece and Saudi Arabia can build on that renewed momentum that we see in their bilateral relations and build bridges of collaboration that will eventually create more broadly shared opportunities?
That is a beautiful question. Before I answer it, I would like just to touch on a point. And I think it's critical for us to also understand the mindset of capital nowadays. You have to understand that it is bold, it's brave, and it's also maybe stressful slightly to be running or developing major projects nowadays. Most of the major, I would say, capital allocators are still wary because of high interest rates and with a high risk-free return, it takes a lot for some of these, I would say, capital holders to deploy into the market. So I was reading a report, and a lot of financial analysts do anticipate a reduction, efforts to combat inflation. I think after the injections that occurred both physically and in the market during post-pandemic, I think I would see a trend for a lot of capital to flow into many of these projects. But it's critical as well that people say ESG very lightly, and the utilization of ESG and what is ESG, what is investment grade ESG for each fund is different. But across consumers, and exactly what you have mentioned is sometimes the operator, the developer, and the end user needs to be very like-minded because that's how you merge or match supply and demand together. And a lot of the needs coming up are for smart, sustainable assets that have a low carbon footprint, but also offers the quality and the longevity that both the capital provider and the end user will benefit from. Now, coming into the question, apologies, we might have taken a bit longer, but I think between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Hellenic Republic, there is a lot that we can converge together onto. We have, as I mentioned yesterday, we have a very long historical relationship. I think since 1927, the relationship happened between the both countries. I think culturally we have a lot of similar values. The importance of family and being grounded, and we had a conversation on this, that being grounded within family values allows for better, I would say, partnerships and better business-to-business relationships between both countries. Opportunities are, I think, limitless and tremendous. When I look at both countries, if you look at tourism, of course, both countries have tremendous assets, whether it's the Athens Riviera or the Red Sea. We have great opportunities to collaborate in developing these destinations. And it's good also that sharing the knowledge and having more conversation only helps everybody rises to the next level, which eventually helps you bring better returns from these assets. Your investors will be happy, your visitors will be happy across all of these projects. And industries, of course, energy is a critical industry that we're partnering with. Digital infrastructure is another very important industry, and we touched upon the subsea cable that we have, which is one of our joint projects between both countries, which will also allow for these digital infrastructures to enable everything we have mentioned, to enable to have smart systems and sensors and optimize energy usability for all these projects across these countries. And I think there is tremendous talent. And yesterday we listened to a lot of the funds and how they're investing in entrepreneurs in both countries. I think there's tremendous capital in the venture side and in to be deployed for entrepreneurs, which I think investing in the human capital would not deter the viability of these projects. I think they go hand in hand and they complement each other, because for these assets to operate on a longer term and also be constantly profitable, you need to continuously invest in the skill sets needed to operate and to continuously redevelop and upgrade these assets, which of course human capital is the most precious and valuable component of it all. Apologies, taken down.
Thank you. We have run out of time, but I will.
It's on me. I
I will
apologize.
bet upon Joanna's goodwill to allow me for 10 seconds, both of you, with your experience and your insights from the global arena. What do you think are the key drivers that we have to emphasize upon them in order to attract further investments and to keep that significant momentum that our country has advanced to? Mr. Moustaka?
I'm sure that many before me have mentioned an exhaustive list of what needs to be done and what is already available. I would like to underline probably an element that has been understated. Whenever you apply, when you need to develop a foreign direct investment, whether it's in Greece or anywhere else, it is ideal if you have an educated local partner. And I think we are, besides everything else that we have in Greece, that you have mentioned most of them, in Greece you can also find educated local partners that they themselves have been foreign direct investors in other countries. This means that it is easier to identify the common ground, and this always leads to successful projects.
I agree. I would say, globally, of course, if you look at the numbers and the analytics, FDI has been declining. It's understandable. There has been a lot of shifts from globalism to regionalism and to localism as well, views. But I think it's also important that for both government sides to also always be reflecting on what can be improved to enable the private sector. Regulations will always be, by nature, and policy is always slower than technology. It's always a challenge, I think, for policymakers to be as fast and reactive, and of course, it's natural to be also a bit lagging on global trends sometimes. But I think all the success factors is there. We just have to seize the opportunity, and I think, as you mentioned, there is significant expertise locally in Greece and both in Saudi, and I think such platforms is a great opportunity for also private sector to engage one-on-one and to build these relationships. And I think from both countries, both private sector leaders value having long-term relationships that are grounded on not just business relationships, but they also cultivate personal relationships, and they go through it through thick and thin. And I think that's an advantage that we both have, in the closeness that we can build on to do many great things, I think, across many sectors, in energy and digital infrastructure, in hospitality. I think we can both be leaders in this field globally. And part of this also regionalization is it gets people, instead of focusing on big markets very far away, to where are the great opportunities in markets that are in better proximity of each other, and it allows for more engaging and more interactive investment landscape and partnerships.
So, before I thank the gentleman, give me 10 seconds also to thank and congratulate Ioanna for an amazing event. I think all of us and all your guests have spent hours and hours in these stages. We never had this amazing scenery right next to us. So, a big applaud to Ioanna, please,
Thank
from
you.
everyone. And gentlemen, thank you so much
Thank
for this
you.
discussion. Thank you.